It won't last. The work of man is destined to perish. What man does comes apart eventually. Both this city and the Imperium. Those were the words spoken by the remembrancer and poet Ignace Carcassy before Imperial soldiers beat him up for spouting such heresy. In the pages of the first Horus Heresy novel, Horus Rising, we see a look into how the Imperium operates beyond just conquest through war. The Emperor's Great Crusade was meant to free humans from Xeno overlords and bring them into the Imperium. A united humanity, whether they want it or not. This video is utilizing the Horus Heresy novel, Horus Rising, as a starting point for a discussion on what if the Emperor is doing is the right thing to do. What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and today I'm back to talk about Warhammer 30K and 40K. So here we will be looking at war, faith, and conquest, and whether the Imperium is doing the right thing. Because when you think about Warhammer 40K, you think of it as being grim dark, hopeless, a place where you do not want to live. But it wasn't always the case. The Emperor did indeed have intentions to create a unified, peaceful, and prosperous humanity. But what went wrong? So let's go ahead and take a look as to the who, the what, the where, the when, the why, and why Warhammer 40K is as grim dark as it is today. So the novel begins with Loken, a Luna Wolf Astarte, retelling the conquest of a human empire that was against joining the Imperium. A great battle stretches across the world, but the might of the Astarte is too much for this planet's armies. Eventually, Loken makes his way to this civilization's so-called emperor. Just that title alone is blasphemous to utter, for there is only one true emperor. If we look at page 38, we see the two share a conversation. It goes as follows. "Your hostility started this," Loken said calmly. "You would not listen to us or believe us. You murdered our ambassadors. You brought this upon yourself. We are charged with the reunification of mankind throughout the stars in the name of the Emperor. We seek to establish compliance amongst all and any fragmentary, desperate strands of humanity. Most greet us like the lost brothers we are. You resisted. You came to us with lies. We came with the truth, but your truth is obscenity. Sir, the truth itself is amoral. It saddens me that we believe the same words, the very same ones, but value them so different. That difference has led directly to this bloodshed." The elderly man sagged, deflated. "You could have left us alone." "What?" Loken asked. "If our philosophies are so much at odds, you could have passed us by and left us to our lives, unviolated. Yet you did not. Why? Why did you insist on bringing us to ruin? Are we that much a threat to you?" "Because the truth," Loken began, "is amoral. So you said. But in serving your fine truth, invader, you make yourself immoral." Loken was surprised to find that he didn't quite know how to answer. He took a step forward and said, "I request you surrender to me." Why not just leave them alone? This question holds much weight to it. The Emperor of Mankind wishes to unite humanity, all of humanity, so they could not only prosper, but be able to defend themselves from the horrors of the warp and any Xenos. The Emperor needed to guide humanity, since alone they cannot achieve greatness. For example, the techno-barbarian tribes of Terra, the Age of Strife, and there are many more. Now one can assume that the Emperor's plan was to utilize the Webway and the Golden Throne to usher in humanity's psychic awakening and lead them to a new era of human dominance. This is why complete unity was necessary, whether they knew it, wanted it, or not. That's why the Primarchs were created, and why the Astartes legions were needed. Compliance through war, if necessary. And oh, was it necessary? It's the tagline of Warhammer 40K after all. In the grimdark future of Warhammer 40K, there is only war. War. It's inevitable, and it's the one true way to bring peace. War brings compliance. War brings power. War created the Imperium. After all, Sigismund of the Imperial Fists said it best on page 132. Loken begins by saying, "Surely, brother, you can convince me of a time when all worlds have been brought into one unity of imperial rule. Isn't that the dream we strive to realize?" Sigismund stared into Loken's face. "Brother Loken, I have heard much about you, all of it good. I had not imagined I would discover such nativity in you. We will spend our lives fighting to secure this Imperium, and then I fear we will spend the rest of our days fighting to keep it intact. There is such involving darkness amongst the stars. Even when the Imperium is complete, there will be no peace. We will be obliged to fight on to preserve what we had fought to establish. Peace is a vain wish. Our crusade may one day adopt another name, but it will never truly end. In the far future, there can be only war." Thus meaning that there will always be a need for war, and that is why peace will never truly come. In order to keep peace, the Space Marines were created, but over the years, the teaching of the Emperor began to be questioned. What was once thought as truth began to crumble. Logic over belief, science over superstition. But upon a newly reconquered world, the Luna Wolves fought against a demon, a devil. But how? These things did not exist, could not exist. The Emperor's own words decreed this truth. And so, the cracks of disbelief began. This would only continue to crumble, and over time, the entire Imperium that the Emperor worked so hard to create shattered before him. Lorgar's Lectitio Divinatus began preaching the Emperor as a god. Cults began to worship the God Emperor. No longer did humanity use logic and science, but blind faith as a means for hope. This double-bladed sword impaled the Imperium deeply, for the ruinous powers of chaos began to infect the legions of Space Marines, and even worse, the Primarchs. At this point, no longer could the Emperor ignore chaos. The heresy of Horus split the Imperium apart and almost took the Emperor's life as well. Interred upon the Golden Throne, the Imperium was no more what it once was. Humanity descended into an Imperium run by faith alone. The Imperial Creed took root in every aspect of civilization, including that of the Space Marines. Religion and belief is as powerful as it is scary. Those who fight for good fight for God. They fight twice as hard. And how can they lose? How can they be in the wrong when God Himself is on their side? This can easily be used to sway millions of people to their side. Goj Vandire did this to take control of the Imperium, and even raised an army of devout warrior women, the daughters of the Emperor, which he then renamed the Brides of the Emperor. This was indeed a dark time for the Imperium. After all, it was known as the Reign of Blood. Vandire proclaimed himself the Emperor's own mouthpiece, and it wasn't until the Emperor himself spoke to the leader of the Brides that they finally realized that Vandire was indeed a heretic. This reign was brought to an end with his beheading, and the Brides of the Emperor became known as the infamous Sisters of Battle. Clearly, this did not end the power of religion in 40K, nor did the reintroduction of the Primarch, Robert Guilliman. He knew of the Emperor's disdain for religion, and seeing the state of the Imperium, he did not work to free humanity from their self-imposed shackles. Instead, the Primarch took to war, a war to push back the forces of chaos, to reclaim the fallen Imperial worlds lost. Perhaps another civil war would erupt had Guilliman tried to dismantle the ecclesiarchy, leading to the Imperium to become even worse off than it currently was. This is a grim-dark universe, but I can't help but feel the many parallels to our own society. War, conquest, religion, greed. Are humans shaped to be blinded by everything and only follow belief? After all, Warhammer 30K and 40K is, in its own way, what our current timeline will become. So that's not to say that humanity is without flaws or without guidance. There will be a golden age, but it won't last. We've seen what the Men of Iron did. We've seen the dark age of technology. But what will happen at the end of it all? Is it worth it?